The Cleveland Cavaliers released wing Patrick McCaw on Monday, ahead of the 5 p.m. deadline to guarantee his contract for this season. McCaw, who agreed to a free agent deal with the team last week, played only 3 games for the Cavs, scoring a total of 5 points. He joined the Cavaliers on a $6 million non-guaranteed contract offer, which the Warriors refused to match. I want to ask you where he could end up as a free agent, where he could potentially fit well, but also want to ask about the situation at hand. Is it something that the league should be looking into? Is there a rule here that you think perhaps should be changed because of the loophole that's been found?
Go ahead, Mike. You had an interesting take on this today when we talked.
Just hearsay. But remember, if he did not sign with someone, he was still Golden State's property.
Right.
So he had to sign with another team. There weren't a lot of takers out there offering him money. So Cleveland, who could have been doing his agent a favor, signs him to a 2-year non-guaranteed contract. Now, the day before, legally they can do this, they waive him. Well, guess what? He's now a free agent. So now he can go to a team that perhaps his agent has already talked to, negotiate a deal worth more than what he was getting from the Cavaliers, and he winds up in a place that he's happy with and really wants him and can use him. And Cleveland has done a very nice favor for an agent who may happen to have a great player down the road some year. We don't know that.
But he couldn't go back to Golden State, and he could sign with the Cavs for significantly less.
Yeah, I don't see him doing either, though. He's not going back to Golden State. I think they made that perfectly clear, and they didn't want to match him.
And the Cavs don't need him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They've got a number of players at the same size, do the same things that he does.
Agreed. I think he's one of those guys that fits on a good team. I don't think he fits on a bad team. I don't think you can give him the ball and say, go create for others and stuff. You know, he got a lot of open shots, but I tell you what, everybody gets open shots if you play with KD, Steph, and Clay. You know, they're gonna be off you. I could see him going. You know, Chris Paul has had problems. I could see Houston being a buyer maybe in this market where McCaw can make some shots for them, you know, defend well enough at that point guard, do just enough off the dribble and be clever enough with the ball that you give James a little bit of a rest, harden off the ball a little bit. I could see him going to a good team. He's one of those guys I don't like him on a bad team because he's not that player. He's a nice piece that, you know, that could fit, and he fit well with Golden State, and it just didn't work out there. But Mike, I agree with you. I said there's like some loopholes. There's some areas that if players kind of do what he did, he becomes now an unrestricted free agent using the rules.
Right.
But you know, it all seemed like when I read the whole thing, I was like, huh.
Yeah.
It sounded a little bit
could be
suspicious.
Worth revisiting. My mom used to call me Special K.
Ooh.
Funny. The Spurs win at 119-107. That's their season-high 5th win in a row. But they've also gone 13-3 in their last 16 games. Coach, that win moves them up to 5th place, past the Houston Rockets. What is it that stands out about the way this team is playing right now and hitting their stride halfway through this season?
I like their ball movement on the offensive end, and they've incorporated 2 ISO players in Aldridge, who plays mostly on the box or the elbows, and DeRozan, who doesn't shoot threes, coming off of actions and then getting into his one-on-one game. But they've incorporated those 2 guys in how they play alongside of some good three-point shooters now. And they've changed their lineup a couple times. Pop's twisted some stuff around. Defensively, they seem a little bit more aggressive to me than they have been. You know, I mean, they're getting up a little bit more. They're more confident in their schemes. They're pushing up. Their help is there. And they play very, very good team defense. So if you beat one guy in the Spurs, the other guy's rotating over. You very seldom beat a guy on the Spurs and have a clean layup. They come over, they rotate, they shift, they scramble very well. But it's their ball movement. I like the fact that we talked about it earlier. They're shooting 5 percentage points higher as a team in this run, 13-3. You know, you're taking about 100 shots a game. You're making 5 more shots a game.
Yeah,
that's huge, exactly. And you're talking about some of those being threes too, because they stopped having a lot of the poorer shooters shooting a lot of threes. Their top guys are knocking down threes, but I like their body and ball movement and just how they're playing. They're fine. They're hitting stride. They had a whole new team this year, a whole new look. It took a little while to find it, but again, I've said this a million different times. It's Pops is the gold standard in this league for coaching, and he'll find a way. You give him enough time, and he's around that team enough. He'll figure out.
Well, speaking of the Houston Rockets, which is the team that the Spurs just left over in the Western Conference, and the Denver Nuggets, the team sitting atop the Western Conference. The Rockets hold the 10-point lead at halftime, 70-60. James Harden, unsurprisingly, is leading the way with 18 points. He's got 7 assists as well. Let's bring in, again, the czar of the telestrator. To break down, though, what Nikola Jokic has done thus far, not just what he's done thus far, because he does have 15 points in this one. He also has 7 turnovers. What, though, stands out about his game and what makes him so effective when he is effective?
Let's take a look at the versatility that this young man has. He's very skilled, and they use him all over the court, not just send him down low because of his height. They take advantage of the things that he can do. First, let's look at him as a passer, as a distributor. They'll start him in the low post area, knowing that he can score down there. But he looks over his shoulder, reads the defense. He's a one-on-one with Capella until Tucker comes. As soon as Tucker comes, he drops it off to Millsap for the little short shot on the inside. Let's take a look at him in that post area, get him the ball, and the aggressiveness that he has. Look everything over, start to make you move. Yeah, it's a miss, but he goes right back after, comes up with the offensive rebound, and then scores. Then, on the outside, dribble handoff. I'm going to go down and post up the smaller Tucker. Tucker beats him up a little bit in that post area, so, okay, I don't want to get in a fight. I'll just step out behind the three-point line and watch this one from well behind the three-point line as he knocks down the three. So a number of different facets to his game, a very skilled, young, big man, a guy who I believe I heard you people say could be in the MVP discussions at the end of the season.
Well, in our discussion,
yes,
anyway.
Yeah.
If we're talking about it, then he's in the conversation, right?
If they end up with the best record in the West, they'll have to talk about Jokic as an MVP candidate. Mike, how is he? He has 7 turnovers. What's Houston doing to cause him to turn the ball over? He's usually pretty steady with the ball. He gets a little loose once in a while, but he's usually pretty steady.
What we see them doing is they're waiting, and he puts it on the floor. 1 dribble, 2 dribbles, and then they come after him from the blind side, hoping that he'll either spin back into that oncoming defender, or the defender has gotten a hand in there 2 or 3 times, which has caused him to fumble it, lose control of the basketball. So they're trying to frustrate him after he puts it on the floor. When he catches and looks around, they stay at home. But once he starts to put it down, he's taking the contact from the body of Capella. And then, as you know, Tucker's very physical. When he comes after him or one of the other Houston defenders, they've caused him a little bit of concern.
Mike, you know, that's one of those guys when you work with the big guys. That's if you inside reverse pivot, the old Jack Sikma move, so you keep your face to the guy and you never get your back to the basket where they can come up from behind you. So as you rip and face up, everything's in front of you. You can see it. You know, he's such a young player. He needs to incorporate that, because that's one of the things. When you start dribbling the ball and they start coming from the blind side and everybody's digging, you get some turnovers. But he'll make an adjustment. He's very smart, and he's got great hands. I like that big fella.
It always puts tremendous pressure on the defender when the offensive man turns and faces up, because now he becomes that triple threat.
All right, thanks, Coach Fratello. We'll check back in with you. The big news around the NBA over the last 24 hours has been the firing of Wolves president and head coach Tom Thibodeau. The Wolves are under 500 and 2 games back of the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Interim head coach Ryan Saunders addressed the media earlier today.
Definitely didn't expect to be standing here. You know, I'll first off say how much I respect Coach Tibbs and Coach Andy Greer as well. You know, it's tough when you spend so much time with people, you know, on the road or just in general, and then you see you're not going to see those people as much anymore. That's a tough thing. So I'm thankful for the opportunity, though, and moving forward, I'm looking forward to seeing you know, progress on the court and helping grow this team.
Tuesday on NBA TV, it's players only, baby, as Dennis Scott would say. We've got a doubleheader starting with the Wolves and Thunder at 8 Eastern, followed by the Knicks and Warriors at 10:30. Your coverage starts right here at 7:30 with the Auto Trader pregame show. So to help me break down the first of that doubleheader, the czar, Mike Fratello, joins me to talk Timberwolves halfway through this adversity-laden season, we'll call it. What's a realistic expectation for this young team?
This was a team who was just starting to find its way. 5-3 in their last 8 games. One of their 2 young stars has been playing out of his mind lately, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. The last game, both young guys, Wiggins and Towns, go for 28 points apiece. When you look at their roster, it's kind of an interesting blend. You have 7 players with 5 years or less experience. Then at the other end of the spectrum, you have 4 players with 9 and 10 years of experience. But let's face it, obviously their future is Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. They've played exactly the same number of home and away games. They have 21 home left, 21 away left, as they take this 19-21 record. And yeah, they're not in the playoffs as it was tonight, but they're only 2 games out of the 8th spot. So Ryan coming in, taking over for Tibbs, he's got a tough assignment here, because now you've got to get these guys to buy in. And without knowing how much involvement he's had with these young guys, I would think he's had a lot of time with them in development, that type of thing. They know he's a basketball guy. He's done their scouting and preparation for them for a couple of years now. I would think that they would give him a lot of respect. He's got Ed Pinckney, Malik Allen alongside of him to help him out, and that's their job, to help this young man out. He's got an interesting challenge in front of him.
Well, you mentioned if the playoffs were to start today, they would be on the outside looking in. But because of the parity in the Western Conference through the first 40 games this season, is a playoff push realistic?
I think it's realistic, but obviously the key is health, injuries. Can they go through the second part of the season without any seriously long stretches of key guys being out? Get Covington involved, get Saric involved with this team since the trade took place. If Towns keeps playing like he's playing, that's a huge plus for a young guy coming in when you got a guy who's averaging over 28 points a game for the last 8 games.
Well, you mentioned the split right down the middle with home games and away games, and the next 8 games actually look exactly like that as well. They're split at home and on the road, starting with tomorrow night's matchup at OKC, before they then return to Minnesota to host the Mavericks and the Pelicans this weekend, a couple of teams that are also vying for playoff position.
If I was a head coach stepping in, okay, an interim coach, I would have picked a little bit different opponent than Oklahoma City for my first game to break in.
Yeah.
But welcome to the NBA.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah. Welcome. All right, well, I'm going to head over to the other side of the court, and we're going to talk a little bit about, well, the flip side of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder, with our Hall of Fame head coach, Kevin McHale. Coach, when you look at what's made the Thunder successful thus far this season, we talk, of course, a lot about the statistical performances that Russell Westbrook has put up in an MVP caliber season, but let's talk about Paul George and their defensive prowess.
Yeah, I like Paul George. Paul George is really playing well right now. He's at the level where everybody even defers to him. Even Russell Westbrook, when Paul gets going, they give him the ball and let him create shots for himself. And at late in games, they're giving the ball to Paul to finish out games for him. So I like him. But what I really like about OKC is their defense. You know, there's a couple things that they do. They lead the league in deflections, you know, so they're long and they get out in the passing lanes, and you're seeing right now Paul George knock down shots. And you know, their ability to defend, though, is what got me excited. They get their hands on lots of balls, whether it be deflections, block shots, and it turns the points really quickly. They have Steven Adams in the middle that can really control the paint, and you know, he's going to bump and bruise you as you see these guys get steals galore. And big Steven Adams holds down the paint. And then they can switch a lot of stuff. I like the teams that can switch. They not only switch, they switch to deny. So as picks come down, they get up and they deny the passes. That's why they have so many deflections. So I'm more excited about their defense this year than of anything else. I haven't really bought into OKC the last couple of years. They're just impossible for me to like. They play so well, then they play so bad at times. They're just up and down. But their defense right now has got me believing that they could really make a playoff run. You can beat people in this league with defense if you're dedicated and doing it. Now, I know it's an offensive league, but you can go out there, and they have the type of athletes that can get out, deny, and play really good defense on the perimeter.
Well, you're exactly right. We've spent the last couple of seasons, and especially last season, talking about when the Thunder were going to find their way. It was a team that was inconsistent to have so much talent on its roster. Do you see anything apart from its defensive consistency as the reason why they could be contenders this season in the West?
Yeah, I think that they can bring in and play Schroeder alongside of Westbrook, and I think that just gives them a unique ability. Westbrook can come off picks, get off the ball. Schroeder can handle the ball. He can get his own offense, but he can also distribute. And I just think less is more. I think, you know, Carmelo there, everybody was trying to figure out how to play with each other. Carmelo leaves that, opens up more opportunity for Paul George. And as I said when we started this segment, they believe in Paul George. They give him the ball late. They let him close games. Westbrook is deferring to him. And Russell Westbrook doesn't defer to many people, and he's deferring to him. And again, I just think that less is more for this team. But I believe in them, as I said earlier. I believe in them because of their defense. I like the way they D up.
Well, you just said it. Russ may not defer to many people, but he has become more of an offensive facilitator when you look at his numbers this season as opposed to the last couple. What has impressed you most about his play?
Well, he hasn't been shooting the ball well this year. But that's the thing I like is you can control the game. I always said you're really not a basketball player if the only way you can control the game is by scoring. Then you know what you are? You're a scorer.
Right.
If you're a basketball player, you can control the game and score 10, 12 points. I mean, assist, rebound, defend, do all of these things. And, Westbrook's a basketball player. And that's why I really like the guy. So he's not shooting the ball well. He hasn't been in great rhythm. He started off with knee surgery, missing training camp and all that stuff. But I like the fact that he's kind of coming out, testing the water a little bit on some shots. And if he's not hitting it, he's just playing the game. There's many, many ways to win a basketball game. It's not all about, can I get 35 points? And Westbrook can affect the game defensively, offensively, rebounding, a lot of different ways. He's such a unique, powerful guard in this league, like the likes we haven't seen. He's unique, and I like the way he's playing on the defensive end particularly.
Well, come with me to center court as I have both coaches join me now to talk about the team that typically sits atop the league, the defending champion Golden State Warriors. Now, the second half of our players-only doubleheader Tuesday night features those Warriors hosting the New York Knicks. The Warriors sit in second, currently in the Western Conference, but they've posted their worst mark in the Steve Kerr era through these first 40 games. What do you attribute that to? Are you concerned at this point?
I'm not really concerned. Obviously, people aren't used to seeing 6 home losses for Golden State already, not used to seeing them in the third position in the Western Conference. But it is a grinding thing to go through, and Kevin can attest to this. When you're a championship caliber team, and every year, every team is hunting for you, you're the biggest game on certain teams' schedule every night out. It eventually gets to you because you have to perform at a championship level. And you slip up just a little bit, that opponent is playing at the top level against you that particular night. They've had some injuries. They have some guys going through some tough stretches. They'll bring it back together. But right now, it's going to take a little time, and they may have help coming on the way.
Yes, that they do. And DeMarcus Cousins, that was the perfect segue, by the way. There's still no timetable set for his return, but he was a full participant in Warriors practice again on Monday. I got to stop calling you guys coach because coach and coach. Okay, Coach McHale, what do you think that Boogie's going to bring to this team?
They'll be better offensively with Boogie on the floor because he's a great passer. He can play out on top of the key. He can make passes. He's a big body. He sets screens. He can get guys open. I think he also understands ball and body movement. I think he's got a good basketball IQ on the offensive end. Defensively wise is where I get concerned with him on the floor. They switch a lot of stuff. And, man, you're going to have a hard time switching a lot of these pick and rolls with DeMarcus Cousins. So with Boogie, you're going to have to figure out what kind of scheme do you want. Are you going to push it, ice it down the baseline? He's going to have to get in that position, guard 2 for a while.
Fast.
Is he going to show and recover? And so there's a lot of things that they got to do with him defensively that will be different. My concern with Golden State, though, overall, isn't, you can say they're not playing well. Green hasn't really hit stride. I watch them play, and there's some funkiness out there. There's some sideways glances of things going on, and they're just like they had a little bit of that scrum in the huddle between Green and KD. That usually either brings a team together and everybody goes like, hey, you're right, we got to play better. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard him say, no, we've made amends, we've done this. And a couple things hurt teams on a playoff run. Usually it's injuries and age. You get older, you have your run, it's over. In today's game is free agency. And then, man, it's internal bickering. That's the one that I'm always worried about because everybody starts looking around thinking, man, who's going to be here next year? What's going on next year? Is KD going to, all this stuff. And that hurts a team. You got to be singly focused to win a championship. And that's win every single game you play in and compete at a high level every night.
Well, we're going to be back with a whole lot more from our NBA TV studios next, including live looks from around the league. Elsewhere on this 8-game Monday night, the Spurs are looking to extend a 4-game winning streak as they head to Detroit to take on the Pistons.